The next one is Dan McGovern. Dan, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for that. Good evening. While I was hoping to merely be an observer at tonight's meeting, as this will be my last as president of the BHEA, the events of this week caused us great concern for the direction of this district. We knew that redistricting was going to be painful. We heard the pain in the families affected by a closed door process that only superficially asked for stakeholder input via a survey consisting of possibilities already selected by the superintendent. Instead of regular updates from the superintendent to the community as decisions were made over the course of months to narrow down the possible outcomes, the public was notified of the final plan of essentially one option by the board president prior to the board's vote on adoption. Had all stakeholders been included throughout this entire process via regular communication and committee participation, we would bet that the rollout would have been smoother and more issues would have been corrected prior to the board's vote at the last meeting. This week, the affected staff members were notified of their new grade and or building placements for next year. Like the other stages of the planning process, this also occurred in secret and whose outcome at the surface appears to be more painful than it should have been, considering a majority of the K-5 staff are moving in some capacity. No explanation was given as to why staff members who are staying at the same grade level in a building housing that grade level are moving. For example, why would a fifth grade teacher at Hughes who is teaching fifth grade next year move to Mountain Park come the fall? There's also no explanation as to why all of the male grade 3 to 5 classroom teachers have been moved to the same school. If so much care was given to, quote, balance the staff, unquote, wouldn't gender balance also be considered? The private sector mentality of shaking up the staff is not always a recipe for success, even in the corporate world. For those that doubt why, I encourage you to watch the 15th episode of the 3rd season of Parks and Recreation. While I admit this television show is a comedy, the parallels to this situation are undeniable, but unfortunately, no one is laughing here in Berkeley Heights. In the episode, new city manager, Chris Traeger, upends the Parks Department in an effort to shake things up with disastrous results. As the city manager did not solicit input from the local level administrator of the Parks Department prior to the shakeup, city manager was unable to develop a functional plan with the talent available. In Berkeley Heights, Dr. Varley stated at this meeting that the building principals were only consulted before and after the new staff building rosters were created. The BHEA is concerned with the chaos that this will bring next year with so many staff members upended at the same time, moving to new buildings with new administrators and teaching new grade levels, and the chaos this summer with the radically increased workload on the custodial staff tasked with moving so many classrooms in addition to the normal summer workload plus any COVID responsibilities. It was simply not necessary to move all of these staff members around to accomplish redistricting. Given that so many more staff members than were necessary were shuffled around, leads your employees to question if this is merely a tactic to try to force people to resign or retire, as if the already incredibly toxic environment you have established in this district was not enough cause. And let's also not forget the difference card healthcare scheme I emailed the board about earlier this week. Yet another example of anger and frustration among your employees and your unwillingness to hear from them. I would encourage the members of the public to read my correspondence to the board, but there isn't a correspondence attachment section for this meeting, nor is my correspondence that was sent on Monday included in the correspondence section of the agenda. As an aside, there should be no more board members alluding to other emails you receive on private accounts regarding official board business. Board members should be required to automatically forward such correspondence to their official board email accounts for inclusion in the record and inform those that are emailing to their private email account or texting their personal phone number to cease as it is inappropriate. Now, where does the staff shakeup end? Should the elementary teachers expect another move in 2 to 3 years because that's what the private sector does? What about the Hughes staff if the bubble Dr. Varley referenced tonight shifts? Should CMS and GL gear up for this nonsense next year? It is a wildly held educational philosophy that it takes at least 3 years for a teacher to master a new curriculum. This sentiment is even echoed by College Board when they train AP teachers. Does our Board of Education know something that the College Board does not? The employees of this district have been through enough with this pandemic. It is wrong for the affected employees to be told this news in the middle of the school day by principals who could offer little to no information as to why this decision was made, causing distraught teachers to be forced to retreat into the restroom to compose themselves before returning to work with their students. Could there have been no better way to announce this? The BHEA knows this district was not broken 2 years ago, but this district most certainly is broken now. We hope going forward that this district returns to a philosophy of meaningful stakeholder engagement and sound educational philosophy when making decisions of this magnitude, or we fear for the future effectiveness and success of this district for its students. Thank you.